So thank you all for your attention of the last 2 days, for all the master classes and all the information we have given you. This will be our last masterclass of the live part of the event. Of course, you still can work on your software projects until the 1st March of this year. You will receive on the 24th of February an email questionnaire which you have to fill in entirely. Most important there is, of course, which projects have you worked on, which team you were, but also don't forget to put in the link of your repository where you are working on your project. Because if we want to see what you have done, we need to get to your repository to see your code. So for now, I will start my presentation. I'm going to talk about open source, especially open source education. As you probably already know, my name is Erik. I am the CEO and one of the founders of Open Source Science, the educational institute on open source technology. So let's start. So what we wanted to realize in the world of open source is the possibility to not only train people in open source technology, but also make it possible that it would be easier for them to find work, jobs, to make a living based upon open source. And if you want to make a living based upon open source, you need to know how open source works, how communities works, and what kind of licensing there are present. So we built an education for that. And that's what we have done. So we are a community-led open source organization, and we believe in collaboration, innovation, and of course technology. So probably you understand already what open source is right now, right? We didn't explicitly tell it, but open source is basically based upon the 4 freedoms, of software, which means that you are able to read the software code, you are able to use the software code as you want, you are allowed to make changes to the software code, and finally you're also allowed to redistribute the software code. Well, this is basically what the 4 freedoms are. This is what it's all about when we're talking about open source. As you already understood, because we also talked about business models in a panel discussion, we talked about the freedom, the financial freedom in the previous masterclass. Then you already noticed that per se the software being gratis, that you don't need to pay for the software, is not necessarily a part of open source. Of course, it's true, a lot of open source software you can use it without paying for it, but that's necessarily not always the case. Now imagine that 95% of internet is running on free and open source software. So you used open source software before you started in our hackathon, but also your family uses open source software, because if you use internet, you use open source software. So I don't think there are any persons on the world who can say, I don't use open source software because I do not believe in it. They can try it, but they are not telling the truth. So why do businesses love open source? There are of course a couple of reasons to be able to mention for this. Businesses love open source because of the data privacy, because of the flexibility, the fact that you can move from vendor to vendor, so there's no vendor lock-in. Open source is often cost efficient. You get a broad perspective on everything, and open source software is easy to modify and enhance. So that's why businesses like it. But why should developers choose open source software? Well, it's good for your career if you develop open source. And why is that? We have total ownership of code. It's open source, so the code is everywhere available. You own the code you deploy, which allows you to work faster. There is a global community which supports you. We have a large libraries of open source modules, and if you want to understand how a module works, if you want to adapt a module because you want to make it better, you can download the source code and change it, redistribute it. Open source gives you the ability to collaborate with top developers. You have the possibility to showcase your talent, and you publish your code on a repository. Your name is attached to that, so people can see your contribution. Also, possible new employers can see the work that you have done. That's never the case if you worked for a long time with a proprietary company. Let's say you worked for 15 years at a company like Microsoft. If you then want to switch jobs, do you have the possibility to show the world what you have done? Can you take the programs that you programmed while working for Microsoft, can you take that source code and show to the world, look, this is what I have done? What will you get from that? You will become sued by Microsoft because you're not allowed to do it. It's proprietary software. And with open source software, you freely can show the work you have done. So, what's in it then for you if you become an open source developer? Top companies are hiring developers. They look for proof of work. And like I said a couple of minutes ago, if you are working for a proprietary company, you cannot prove the work you have done. You only can tell, oh, I worked 10 years at Google. Oh, it's nice what you have done. A lot of things. Can you show us that? No, I can't. I'm not allowed. And with open source, you do show that. Huh? You can make your GitHub link, your GitLab link, your Codeberg link. That's in fact a living curriculum vitae. You can show your work to the world. That's what we here then name, you create a portfolio of your open source projects. Open source science is an open source education community, and we are supported by many companies, and we want you to help to get ahead in the open source world. It's not only that we want to help you, we also want to help the open source world. We want to give open source a permanent, a good profile in the world, so that we slowly, maybe even faster than slow, can move out of the proprietary world. So, my first tip will be, from now on, keep yourself updated by following open source topics. Stay informed, stay connected with us, follow us on our socials, follow us on Mastodon, follow us on Blue Sky, follow us on LinkedIn. Yeah, keep yourself informed. Start with our guidance in your journey of free and open source software. And you could already start. Choose a programming language which you like. Get familiar with version control systems such as Git, and look for interesting projects. And even if you can't program, you still can contribute. join open source communities. And you learned a lot about open source communities the last 2 days. And you could join UBports, the Ubuntu Touch community, or you could join Oka and start developing and helping Oka Odoo community modules. You can contribute by solving beginner-friendly issues, small bugs, but you could also help testing, or you could help with documentation, if that's more your piece of cake. Develop your expertise to contribute actively to the open source community. Participate in open source contests, like this one, this hackathon we have done, and start winning and change the world. Start helping us to make FoSS sustainable, and FoSS is of course free and open source software. Do that with our project-based learning education, where not only courses are used, but also you build your portfolio, and after each year you pay attention, you work on real life open source projects. Together with our free and open source software partners, which are many, from many countries, from the USA, from Canada, from the Netherlands, Germany, Sweden, Singapore, Cambodia and India. All countries where we have partner organizations which are eager to have students to work on open source projects in a joint collaboration. Like the timesheet project, where we work together with a couple of companies and universities. All centered around a repository. So in this example it's GitHub, but of course it can also be GitLab or Codeberg. Especially we would like that more open source projects would move to GitLab, because GitHub is owned by Microsoft. But here you can see all kinds of partner organizations which are possible to collaborate with and to work on open source projects. Maybe even if you have yourself an open source project or an open source company, you could be part of our community too. We offer an education which is flexible, which is modular, but which, if you would do all subjects with us, covers an entire 4-year program, or 3-year if we speed things up. Subjects like logics, open source best practice, where you learn about licensing, about Git and how open source community functions, but also how to maintain your own Linux machine and programming in Python. And then yes, at the end of the year you will do a project where your code that you created goes to GitHub. And the second year, where we focus on Rust, on networking, on database technologies, again a bit Python and some more Linux, because maybe you need some skills as a Linux system administrator. And of course, at the end of the year, all your produced code to your GitHub repository or GitLab, so that you are building on your own life CV. The third year, research proficiency, cloud software distribution, concepts of software engineering, C, C++, data science, again a bit of Python, building again on your knowledge, and of course everything to the repository. And at the end, the last year, the fourth year, you can do a specialization of half a year and a thesis where you prove your value of work to the world. And of course again, everything to your repository. So the modus operandi, what do we use in our education? So we are running an OpenEDX e-learning environment, which is of course open source. And in this environment you will find all kinds of information, video material, books, exercises, and we use a system where we train the trainer. In most cases means that we partner up with universities and we train their staff for giving support. So currently already we are developing a couple of programs. We are working with the open source fellow program with MAT ADT, and we have more programs in development. And here you see a lot of possibilities. So everything is based on the 240 EC, which is the 4-year, but we are flexible, we are modular. We can tailor make any program for any institute which wants some open source education. So, and let Ozzy, our penguin that you already have seen a couple of times now, standing with the mics, be the Sherpa for the next generation as you go and set out to the summit of your career. So, I would like to thank you for your attention, and now we will probably go over and join.
Can you hear us, sir?
Yes, I can.
Oh, fantastic. We like.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi,
Professor.
hi, Steve.
Erik, you need to switch the camera too. Just a moment. Oh, you can come here. Just a moment.
So we are ready.
Yes.
Yes.
We like. Yeah.
I think we can conclude we had a wonderful event. Still about 200 people are coding and will be coding for the next week. So we hope to see nice projects which give something back to the community. So yeah, it was. We also like to thank the Berlin Business School of Innovation for hosting this wonderful event, and thank you for that, all of you. Thank you.
And thank you. It has been really a good initiative and wonderful. Professor Karyakos is
Dr. Farshad, so
Yeah, yes.
thank you very much
Yeah,
for your time. as well.
thank you very much. Actually, it was a great opportunity for thinking more deeply about industrial focus on open academic resources in the age of artificial intelligence. I mean, in the modern world, we need to learn how to change our perspectives to industrialization, to academic analytics, especially when we are going through openness. And this is a great opportunity when b.ed and Open Science are collaborating.
there is no sound from our side.
There is sound from our side. Yeah, there is.
Okay.
Only the professor dropped out of the connection.
Okay.
Okay, yes. Yeah, this is a great opportunity actually to think about openness in a new framework, and to think about, creating a kind of knowledge community, all parts of the world, to be open, to be transparent, to be durable, and to make a strong partnership, using resources in different ways, and being effective and efficient in a mutual way. This is something that is coming in the mutual vision of open science as well as b.ed-SCi, and we believe in future, and believe in actually creating some values, global values together, and using resources in a very effective and efficient way in order to support all people around the world in a much more professional and effective way. This is great, and we are very happy for having open science in Berlin.
So let's us also put a word out to the boards of the 22 universities from whom students have joined in our hackathon to open up and start collaborating with Open Source Science and the Berlin Business School of the Berlin School of Business and Innovation to work on a better world and to collaborate on open source technologies.
Thank you, and now we will request Professor Kyriakos if some final words of thoughts before we conclude.
Thank you, Steve. I hope you will be able to hear me and
Yes,
see
Yes,
me.
we can hear you and see you. Thank you.
Great. First of all, I want to congratulate all of you and our participants for this amazing experience. The key is to continue doing exactly as you did the last couple of days. And let's consider this as the start and not the end, or if you want, the end of the beginning for many successful endeavors in the near future. Don't forget that by definition, what you're doing with sharing these common values and also the open sources is really, really, really great. And again, a very warm congratulations for this. We aim to host this type of events again in the near future. It is up to you. Just remember that everything that is affiliated to entrepreneurship, to higher education, to the pursuit of common values is something that at b.ed-SCi, but also in higher education, all of us embrace. I think if we look into the future, and especially with the development of AI, and I say this positively, there are still wonderful things ahead of us. So the more we share, the more we participate, the better for us and the community. Don't forget that we belong to a big circle of students, of researchers, of entrepreneurs, of business people, and the sooner we realize that when we join forces together and when we embrace these common values that I mentioned, it will be great for all of us. There are lots of positive side effects that you have received these last couple of days, and you will realize very soon. This feeling of belonging to a large global community, of communicating to each other, of exchange knowledge and ideas and norms, it's going to stay with you forever, especially if you continue participating in this type of activities. I really want to force you to continue educating yourselves. As I used to say to my students, and also in all the graduation ceremonies, for me, education and this type of activities, as the one that you did these last 2 days, they equip you with a passport, but a passport that never expires. A passport, though, that you need to constantly update. And this is exactly what you did, and this is exactly what you should continue to do. And a warm well done from all of us to all of you. Congratulations again, and hope to be able to participate in a similar wonderful event in the near future. Thank you very much for all your efforts and your participation worldwide.
Thank you.
Thank you.